Yes, welcome into Foxboro Rush. What a rush of a Tuesday here in New England. He's Travis Thomas. I'm George Balekji. When people were going to bed and waking up, the news of Brandon Aiyuk updates actually having some body to them, that's what came down. New England Patriots, Cleveland Browns, the two most likely trade suitors. We're going to get into that.
Yep.
We're going to talk about some of Gerard Mayo's comments from practice today. We'll go over some NFL bets, talking about who's going to start in the regular season, also some preseason talk as well.
Okay.
And we got our NESN tight ends, Mount Rushmore as well. But let's get right into it. Brandon Aiyuk. So we knew that Brandon Aiyuk was unhappy with his situation in San Francisco.
His
the reason
money.
being, yes, his situation being the $14 million he would make on the fifth-year option of his rookie deal this season. He wants $30, $31 million. The Niners are offering 26, 27, 28 in that range. He wants to be paid top 3, not top 10. So he wants out. But what comes down to it is the team that he'll get traded to, he has to agree that he'll sign an extension with them.
Yep.
So to catch everyone up, New England was interested, wanted to trade for him, but that got shut down. And that was a trade going back to draft night, but the Niners didn't like getting just a 34th pick in return. Now the Cleveland Browns have emerged. So there's been a lot of reports overnight. I would like to point out great reporting by ESPN's Mike Reese, great reporting by ESPN's Jeff Darlington as well. Darlington pointing out that it was a lot of intensity going. Also pointing out the Commanders backed out because of trade demand from the 49ers.
Right.
And the Pittsburgh Steelers were interested, but no longer because of the compensation the 49ers were getting back. I'm saying all this to lay this out, and then I'll let my awesome co-host Travis speak. This is a two-part trade. The 49ers have to agree to the compensation they're getting in return.
Right.
But it's on Brandon Aiyuk. He doesn't have a no-trade clause, but he might as well, because if he doesn't agree, he will sign an extension with the team he's getting traded to. They won't want to trade it. They don't want a rental because of how much they have to give up. All right, we're all caught up, I think, Trav. Anything I'll leave out?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I know you set me up to go on some sort of long monologue here, but I'm actually just going to volley this back to you.
Let's have the combo, bro.
I have a question. As someone who I believe could work in the front office if you were not a broadcaster, my question to you is this. The Browns trade for Aiyuk is a rental, is it not? They are not in a position, salary cap-wise, either this season or next season, to give him what he wants. So I look at this from a logical standpoint of the Patriots really is the only option here for him to get what he wants. He wants money, okay? Yep. If he's a rental player for the Browns, why go to Cleveland if you're not going to get an extension there because they can't afford it? Why not stay where you are out in the Bay? It's a better place to live, A. It's a better team, B. And C, they have a better shot at a Lombardi with you than the Browns do with you. So I have a disconnect somewhere of why would he consider the Browns? Like, is it a we give you our word handshake of we're going to create the space necessary to pay you? Well, how in the hell are you plan on doing that? I mean, you're going to cut the whole damn team? So I think New England's the only option, to be honest. I think New England and the 49ers can figure out the compensation. You and I have been tossing this around since the beginning of this. Figure it out, and then give this guy the money. It's the only – unless you're about to blow my mind, which you tend to do with cap stuff, unless the Browns can make it make sense financially, which I don't see how they can, I think the Patriots is the only option for Brandon Aiyuk and for the 49ers.
The reason we're seeing Cleveland and New England pop up as these two teams is because they have always been interested in trading for Brandon Aiyuk.
I understand that.
Now, with those two being the destinations, you're right, Trav. Here's the thing with Brandon Aiyuk. He is the number one receiver, most talented on that offense.
Yes.
But it's a four-headed monster with CMC, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, and now him and even Ricky Pearsall getting into the fold there, right?
Right.
He wants to go out and be a number one receiver, wants to go out and get paid as so. But with Brandon Aiyuk wanting to do that and seeing these two destinations, for Brandon Aiyuk, aside from getting paid, this is a bad trade. You're in this to win a Super Bowl. And if you win a Super Bowl and then enter free agency as a number one receiver, you have been as a top yards per target as he's put out as well.
Right.
You will get paid handsomely when the receiver market resets again. We're seeing Cleveland and New England pop up because they've been the most interested teams. And with Cleveland, it makes sense for the 49ers because they would get Amari Cooper in return. They would get a guy that's put up 1,100 plus yards 4 of the last 5 seasons and is 12 plus yards per catch the last 5 years. Just reliable, steady, and a number 1 receiver to play off of Deebo Samuel. The reason the Patriots are brought into this is because they have the cap space. The Browns have $12 million in cap space this season. Then they're in the red next season. The New England Patriots have $43 million this year, then $78 million this year, with not a lot of pending free agents. Remember, They extended a lot of core guys and they drafted a ton of rookies.
Right.
This is an awful trade for Brandon Aiyuk because he's going to go from being the number 1 receiver on the best roster in the NFL, who is a true Super Bowl contender and are the best team in the NFC, to either going from a Shanahan offense to catching passes from Deshaun Watson, who sucks.
Right.
Or going from a Shanahan offense to a 3-year rebuild in New England.
Yeah.
But what does he get in New England? He gets paid $31 million a year. He gets $80+ million guaranteed. He gets $125 million in total value.
Right.
All top 3 numbers and getting paid as a receiver in the league. This doesn't make sense for Brandon Aiyuk at all as a guy that wants to accomplish a ton, and so you think. But you have to take the logic out of this. And as Matt Judon has said, there's football and then there's football business. And he doesn't want, Brandon Aiyuk, I'm talking now, he doesn't want to play without that guaranteed money. He doesn't want to play for $14 million this year.
Right.
He wants to play for $30 million plus.
Yeah.
And the Niners, keep in mind, have offered him in the upper $20 million a year range for AAV, but he wants more. Whoever is Brandon Ayuk's team, whoever's in his circle, it's just bad advice is what they're giving him, in my opinion. But to get to what you're pointing out, Trav, and again, I have to separate myself from the logic and all this. The New England Patriots are lucky that Brandon Aiyuk is not prioritizing winning. He's prioritizing money.
Right.
$43 million in cap space this year, $78 million in cap space next year. And all they have to give up is Kendrick Bourne, who's a good receiver, but 29 years old and coming off a torn ACL, along with draft picks.
Bye.
Brandon Aiyuk, Jalen Polk, KJ Osborne, Javon Baker, Pop Douglas.
Yeah.
Those are your 5 receivers.
Right.
That is a good receiving room.
It's a better wide receiver room. And neither one of us ever felt like it was terrible, but we have talked about they need a true number 1 wide receiver. The issue is you're still not sure if he's a true number 1 wide receiver or not. You won't know that until he arrives to town and you see him alongside those names that you mentioned. It is a much different world for Brandon Aiyuk to go from Deebo and George Kittle to Pop Douglas and the names that you laid out, Javon Polk, who we don't even know if he could play or not. Here's one thing I want to push back on you with, though. You say we got to take logic out of this. It doesn't make a lot of sense from a football standpoint, and his circle advising him and guiding him the wrong way. While I agree with all of those, it's because you and I care about winning. It's because you and I have made decisions in our careers already where, yeah, maybe we could have made more money somewhere else in a certain situation, but we loved what we were doing. We loved the team we were doing it with, so we made other decisions. You and I think that way. That's why it looks that way to us, George. But the reality is not everyone thinks the way you and I do. There are people that think the complete opposite, which is the right decision. The right thing to do is where the dollar bills, y'all, are. So Brandon Aiyuk clearly is operating from that place. Just because we don't understand it doesn't mean it's wrong. Doesn't mean it's not logical. It doesn't mean, look, if the guy, here's where I respect him, George, and why I'm sort of standing up for him in this sense. He's made it clear that this is his priority, that the money is. At least he's given us that. I don't like, personally, George, when people or athletes, whoever, says, how much do we hear this in sports? It drives me nuts. We hear it with coaches a lot, especially. Oh, I'm never going to leave. It's deeper than money. I mean, I love being here. I love my team. I love the city. And then 5 seconds later, somebody hands them a blank check and says, how much? And they are ghost, baby. They sign that thing and you never see them again. What happened to the love? What happened to you never leave? What happened to BS? That drives me nuts. But at least Brandon Aiyuk, from the beginning, has been very clear. And I'm telling you, I told you this summer when it was happening, all these receivers in this league, some of them deserving of these contracts, but many of them are not. And we know it. We know they're scrubs, and they're still getting paid big dollars. He saw all that, and he said, oh, hell no. I know I can ball, and he can. So he has been very clear and concise, George, from the beginning. He's about the money. You and I are not, and that's why it's not logical to us. Bro, we would stay in the Bay. If anything, you know what I would do? George, I would go to the Niners, and they seem like this kind of organization where I think they would go for this. I would sit down with John Lynch and Shanahan and the rest of them, and I would say, look, I want to get paid like the rest of these guys are. Some of these guys are losers, and we see the money getting paid. It's obvious that we're not agreeing on a contract, and that's fine. I have a year left. I'll honor it. Give me what you can. If you can throw me a little extra or some incentive or something, cool. But I'm going to play this out. Hopefully we win a Super Bowl. But regardless if we do or we don't, when this contract expires, do right by me by letting me hit the market and cash out. I'm not going to be here. You're not going to get anything for me. Don't franchise me. Don't play games with me. Can we have a gentleman agreement on that? Can we shake on that? And I would think the kind of organization the Niners are, they would say, yeah. And they would probably say, we'll leave the door open to renegotiate with you and see if we can make it work. Great. Or give us a chance to match. Great. And then I'd play out the season. But this guy, again, defending him in a way, he has been clear. I ain't doing none of that. Get me out of here. I want to get paid. If that is your motivation and what drives you, although I don't understand it, I will respect it that you've been consistent, Brandon Aiyuk. If that's the case, the Patriots need to match aggression. They need to say, listen, how do we get this deal done without giving you our first-round pick? We're not doing that, okay? We're not doing that. That's our hard out. Outside of that, we can have a conversation. And I believe this deal is going to get done now. I wouldn't be shocked if it's today or tomorrow. I think eventually, Kendrick Bourne, whatever else, they get it done. They send that to San Fran. We get Brandon Aiyuk. And in a week's time, we'll be having a press conference with one of the highest paid wide receivers in the game saying he can't wait to play alongside Drake May. That's how it's going to go. But again, I'm defending him because, like, he's been consistent, George. He has made it clear. I'm about the money.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't agree with it, but okay.
As someone that wants more honesty from athletes, I do respect I don't care about football. I don't care about winning. That's what Brandon Aiyuk is saying about this entire saga in his career.
I know.
He does not prioritize winning. He prioritizes getting paid.
That's right.
And understand, you play a gladiator-type sport. Mm-hmm. How do we know that conversation didn't happen? And with the 49ers, with $53 million in cap space, why not go to Aiyuk? Hey, you're going to make $14 million this year on your rookie deal. We're going to tack on $10 million. So you're going to be a year ahead. You're going to make $24 million this year.
Sure.
And we'll let you hit free agency, go find out the market, and we'll figure out what it is from there. Go out, win a Super Bowl, once again, be one of those most dominant receivers in the league and make it happen.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm with you on this side. Like, he's been consistent. He's not moving the goalposts, although I don't know if it was about money because he also wants to go play for Jaden Daniels, his boy from Arizona State out in Washington. But I think what it is he did a hold-in with the 49ers. He made it public of how unhappy he is, and he's playing the leverage card. I'm unhappy. I'm pissed off. I don't want to be here. But that's hurt him on where it's going because what is a trade demand for the 49ers? And what I wonder with San Francisco, sit down with Brandon Aiyuk and go, we're not trading you. We are on the cusp of winning a Super Bowl, and you are a big reason why. Now, he could come back with, well, I'm not going to play until you pay me. And then they can go, here's $28 million. Let's start here.
Yeah.
Here's some incentives we can work in with our cap space.
Right.
But it's all about the AAV. It's about the total value. It's about the guaranteed money. And I know you're pointing out some bums getting paid. Top three right now, Justin Jefferson, Amon-Ra St. Brown, A.J. Brown.
That's
then
top.
Then DJ Moore just got $82 million guaranteed.
Yeah.
Those aren't bums, and that's what Aiyuk wants.
Yep.
We've seen what Nico Collins has gotten, but that's like a $53 million guarantee, and that's a different monster.
Yeah.
And on Brandon Ayuk's part, hey, man, what you're doing in Kyle Shanahan's offense, understand that's one of the best offenses in the league.
Yes.
What you're going to do in Cleveland, again, with Deshaun Watson, What you're going to do in New England with Alex Van Pelt, first year of that system, first year play caller, with Jacoby Brissett or Drake May at quarterback, it's not going to be the same output.
No.
But if he gets paid, he seemingly doesn't care. This is just so interesting, the layers it has to it. And it is where New England is lucky that Brandon Aiyuk does not care about winning. If he cared about winning and going to a contending destination,
that's right,
then it should be the Chiefs in the AFC, although that wouldn't be a trade the Niners would do.
Or stay where you're at.
Because that's a rival, or stay where you are in San Francisco and get something done. Because middle of the season, we've seen extensions happen.
That's right.
Why not do a hold-in, play, prove yourself, be a professional, but he's not going to do that.
Bro, you could really, there's a world, George, where he could win and get paid in a sense of, all right, I'm going to play this contract out, and then they're going to franchise him. I mean, I talk about this all the time on this show, and I do, and I always preface it by saying I understand the player's position of not wanting it. But I've always thought the franchise tag is not as offensive as these players get offended by. Like,
it's just not long-term guarantee.
It's not long-term in a violent sport. So I'm not dumb. I get it. But, man, if you're Brandon Aiyuk, you have an opportunity to, well, you had it last season to win a Lombardi. You didn't get it done. Okay. This season, you got another chance. You're not happy with your money. Okay. Let's say you play it out, and then you get franchised next season. You're going to be paid like those guys you just named because a franchise tag ensures, it's the whole point of it, that for 1 year at least, you're going to be upper echelon paid. Go try to win a Lombardi again, bruh. I just, again, I know I defended him because he's been clear he's about the money, and I do respect that. At least he's being honest and transparent with us, as you said. But, man, I don't understand. Why not just go try to get a Lombardi in these next few years and then cash out?
Yeah.
Like, how many times do we watch non-star players, role player dudes from championship teams get that championship, hit free agency, and they get a monster bag because they know how to win? They're part of a winning culture. We need to bring that here. If this dude just kept his mouth shut and kept his head down and kept being productive and played this out, man, I believe there would have been a bigger pot of gold for him at the end of the rainbow, barring health. And that's why the health aspect is why these guys don't want to play that game. They just don't. They're not interested in the long game. They're not interested in a 401k. They want the crypto. Like, we need the money now, honey. I'm not trying to wait around.
You can cash out that crypto whenever you want. 401k, you get taxed heavily. But hey, it's neither here nor there.
Right.
But this is a full circle moment we've gone to where you're going, I give him credit for being consistent, but we both come to the same thing. You play out this year, you make $14 million, or you negotiate in-house and go, I'm not going to play for $14 million. The 49ers have offered him in the upper $20 million a year range for his salary. I'm talking 26, 27, 28 million a year to play in the best offense in the NFL with the best head coach when it comes to offensive philosophy and play calling, with a contender, and with a quarterback that can execute at a high level. And they have the cap space this year in $53 million. You know who gets paid? Because Deebo Samuel is on the last year before his void years kick in.
Wow.
You know who gets paid after this season? Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
And Brandon Aiyuk. Ricky Pearsall, drafted out of Florida, that is a Deebo Samuel replacement when it comes to route running. I'm not going to dispute Deebo's versatility and his use in this offense. But here's a full circle thing we come to, Trav, in this entire conversation.
All right.
Because the 49ers have been wanting and have said, Aiyuk, just stay. We will gladly not trade you. We will gladly keep you because we want to win a Super Bowl. And the Patriots and the Browns have been in on Brandon Aiyuk since before the draft. They've been the most interested teams. And we know what their returns would be. If it's Cleveland, they would offer Amari Cooper and draft picks. So that is another number one receiver to replace Brandon Aiyuk. And you know what? The offense stays consistent. You get a really, really good elite outside threat.
Yeah.
And you're still a contender.
Yeah.
For New England, it's better draft picks. But for Brandon Aiyuk, for New England, it's he'll get more money there.
Mm-hmm.
In Cleveland, the money's not there, and you're going to be stuck playing with Deshaun Watson. Two things can be true. Brandon Aiyuk wants to get paid, but then also his best situation for football is being with San Francisco. And he could really derail his entire career because he doesn't want, or he will insist on getting $3 to $4 million more a year. Because if he stays with San Francisco, he's the best receiver on a great offense with a great play caller. And they can go and win a Lombardi if they're healthy, right? And they get there and can get past Patrick Mahomes. Or you go to New England, where it's a 3-year rebuild, and we don't know who the quarterback's going to be this year or next year because Drake May is far from starting. Or you go to Cleveland, where you're stuck with Deshaun Watson as your quarterback the next 4 years because he got a fully guaranteed contract, 100% guaranteed from the Haslams.
Barring jail.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to go there. If he hasn't been there yet, so I don't know.
It could always happen.
Unless Cleveland PD wants to do a better job than Houston PD. Allegedly. The point I'm getting to in all this is that there's no logic in this from Brandon Aiyuk's perspective. From New England, they'll take it. And they missed out on Calvin Ridley. And Elliott Wolf and Gerard Mayo, we'll get into Gerard Mayo's comments. Gerard Mayo has said, I will do whatever it takes to upgrade this roster. We want to put out the best football team out there by any means necessary. Him and Elliott Wolf have said that. They're all about upgrading the guys they have on their 53-man roster. Obviously, Aiyuk would do that. For him and for his career, to me, it's not the best bet. Because what he wants and what you get, that first contract out of your rookie, that's when you get paid. That's when you get security for your family. And then maybe you'll get that great second-year deal. I understand why he wants to maximize that first deal. But over $3-4 million a year, and we could talk taxes and all that, I don't care about it. Because like you said, Trav, if you take that payment from the 49ers and if you win a Super Bowl, that is what will get you paid 3-4 times more than if you just go to New England, put up bad numbers because the offense can't figure it out.
Yeah.
And the same thing, too, if you're the Patriots, this guy's in the best situation possible for a wide receiver outside of being in Kansas City, right?
Right.
And he wants out. How's it going to look when this offense can't figure itself out this season? How's it going to look when you have a rookie, a second-year quarterback, going through growing pains next season? An offensive line he's still having question. How happy is he going to be?
Yeah.
And how quickly will you revisit this hold-in, hold-out situation?
That's such a great point, George, because let's even take it off the field a bit. You know, when you're the number one guy, right? Right now in San Francisco, think about this. When Shaq hits the fan, right? He's got Kyle Shanahan as a coach to take bullets. He's got Brock Purdy, who is young but clearly mature beyond his years, says all the right things at the podium. I mean, the guy's a wet blanket. He doesn't even talk. Like he has no personality. He's very deadpan, so he's saying all the right stuff. You have Debo, who is a personality but cares deeply about winning. You could tell that, and he plays hurt. His style of play, like Debo cares about winning. George Kittle, same thing. Mouthpiece, big personality, cares about winning, passionate. Christian McCaffrey, although quiet, kind of a wet blanket personality as well, cares about winning, says all the right things. These are all leaders. Trent Williams, defensive side, George, Fred Warner. I mean, you have leaders. Bosa, you got guys everywhere to deflect from you, to take the pressure off of you. I'm talking about when Shaq hits fan now. Now you come to New England. We have questions on the field. Are you a true number one? Yep. Let's find out, right? Well, there's offensive line issues. There's young quarterback. There's rookie play callers and head coaches and all the like, right? Everything you just laid out. But you talked about on the field. What about off the field? Because I'm telling you right now, in this media, I'm a part of it. We do not play games here. I knew that coming into this market, but now that I'm here, it confirmed everything I already knew. Ain't no games being played. We're coming at you. We're going to ask you the tough stuff. You know, you start 0 for 3, and, you know, your best stat line is 3 catches for 46 yards. You don't think we're going to ask, hey, man, you missing San Fran right about now? Hey, man, what do you think about all the comments and the narrative out there that you're not a true number one wide receiver? Hey, man, what do you think about all the narrative that you're not worth the money? We don't even know how this dude's going to react to that, George, because we haven't seen him in that pressure cooker because he hasn't had to be.
He would be the best point. He'd be the best player on this offense.
Yes.
Go through the offensive line. Go through the skill guys.
He would.
Go through the quarterback.
But
until
George,
Drake May hits his ceiling, he'd be the best player on the Patriots offense.
To be the guy, right? To be the number one.
A lot comes with it.
Thank you. And so it's not just on the field. It's off the field as well. And in this area especially, that Patriots brand, brother, like you can't just be out here wilding out and talking to people any kind of way and doing whatever. there's a certain brevity to that position. So I wonder how this will play out, because I am 110% sure he's coming here. I am positive. I've been saying it all along.
Just remember this, and I just want to circle back on this one more time to remind the people listening, because the intricacies that come into this trade scenario.
Yeah.
This is a two-part trade. The 49ers have to sign off on the compensation they get back.
That's right.
But Brandon Aiyuk has to be in agreement that he will sign an extension with the team he's getting traded to, or else he can basically kill the trade without having a no-trade clause. Because if he says, I'm not signing an extension, then the team trading for him won't want him.
That's right.
So you have to take that into consideration. Then think about it from this perspective of Aiyuk. The 49ers have offered you money close to $30 million a year. You're playing for Kyle Shanahan with Brock Purdy as your quarterback on the best team in the NFC. What they would trade you to is Cleveland with Deshaun Watson as your quarterback, and you're stuck with him for the next 4 years. Or they trade you to New England, a 3-year rebuild with you don't know who the quarterback's going to be this year. You don't know how good the quarterback will be next year. And then when you get to year 3 in New England or year 4 and your contract's up and you want to hit free agency again, what will your numbers look like? What will your happiness be like if you want to play for this team? There's football, and then there's the business of football. Brandon Aiyuk is making a business decision with this, but I don't think it's the best. Because if he stays with San Francisco, wins the Lombardi, then hits free agency after year 5 in the league, he will get paid when the receiver market resets. But all these guys want are the long-term security of guaranteed money. 2 years, 3 years, 4 years from now. And think about the return. Because if you're the 49ers, the Cleveland Browns make the most sense. You'd get Amari Cooper back.
Yeah.
But that would be an awful choice by Brandon Aiyuk.
Right.
And if you're the 49ers, New England would be the wrong choice because you'd get better draft picks, but you're in win now mode. Your window is right now. You need an immediate impact receiver.
And Kendrick Bourne's not even necessarily ready.
29-year-old Kendrick Bourne coming off a torn ACL is not even on the practice field
That's
yet.
right.
But if you're Brandon Aiyuk, if it's all about money, going to New England is what the best thing is for you. It doesn't. You know what makes sense, Travis? Staying in San Francisco.
Yeah,
winning a Lombardi. Figuring it out right now.
Yeah.
It feels like that ship has sailed.
It's sailed.
They're willing to keep Brandon Aiyuk. You know what I love in all this, in these meeting rooms and these discussions, when they're going around, is there someone in the room in San Francisco that goes, guys, what if we don't trade Brandon? What if we just tell him you're staying here?
I would tell that person, if I were in that room with that person, I would say it's not worth it. That would be my answer. I told you this, and this might just be a personal difference between you and I, maybe, because I've said this to you before. I am the king of, and it's happened to me. It's played out in my life a ton of times, and I don't regret any of it. I am the king of, you don't want to be here. I am the last person, the last bleepity bleeper to make somebody stay. It's just not going to happen.
But it's money. It's not coaching. It's not roster. It's not quarterback.
I understand. But if Brandon Aiyuk is telling you I want out, that's all I need to hear. I don't give a damn about the reason.
Yeah.
Unless it's something I can change. If the 49ers decide, all right, we're going to pay him, then that's different. But if they did make him an offer, we talked about it on the show. The rumor at the time was 26, 27 mil. He said no. So, okay, well, we're not going to make it happen, right? And then you tell me you want out, I would have traded him the same damn day. And look, this is a reality in sports because I'm talking about personal life stuff. That's a different thing. But the reality in sports is this. You tell a franchise I want out, they have to make a business decision. They have to get back what they can. George, the thought that you're going to get equal value to him or even better, it doesn't exist anyways. If I'm the Niners,
you're
right. The Amari Cooper move's better, but the return.
Will Aiyuk sign off on that because they don't have the cap space next season?
I'm trying to get rid of, who's telling me he doesn't want to be here, has the opportunity to tell me I'm not doing that. So now what? I got to pick the phone back up, waste more of my G-damn time to try and convince some teams around the league that I can get good compensation for him to go. Nah, hell no.
The last point I'll make.
Hold on. You got to get on the phone with New England.
Yes.
Get what you can.
Yes.
Is it Kendrick Bourne and some draft picks? Fine. But I got to get this guy who doesn't even want to be in my building where I'm trying to win a Super Bowl with guys who are blood, sweat, and tears trying to get one. We've been knocking on the door for how long, George? This dude has been in those battles with us, and once out, I can't play those games. I can't play those, well, we're going to keep you. And now what? Hell no. You want out with all this? After all we've been through? After how close we've been? For some money? No problem, bro. I would have had him on the first thing smoking out of town. I don't give a damn what you get. You could have gave me a bag of footballs, a pump, a Code Red Mountain Dew, some Skittles. You got to go, brother. You don't want to be here where we win Lombardis and we've been trying to win one?
Has been a minute, but
gotta
yes,
go,
yes,
baby.
yes, yes, yes.
Gotta go. Gotta go.
What's great is, and again, let's look at this from Brandon Aiyuk's perspective. Cleveland, New England, both awful offensive situations.
Yeah.
Cleveland, $29 million in cap space this season, $59 million over the cap next season.
Oh.
New England, $43 million in cap space this season, $78 million in cap space next season. His best choice is the New England Patriots.
Absolutely.
And the New England Patriots are lucky that Brandon Aiyuk is not prioritizing a good football situation.
That's right.
Or winning, because they're not going to be winning for a while, and he might not even be on the team by the time they start winning. But if he gets paid, it seems like that's all he cares about.
That's all
you know
he cares
what I'm laughing about, Trav?
What?
And I love to say this to you as a host of Hold My Banner.
What?
You know how many NBA GMs and presidents are watching this play out and laughing and going, welcome, man.
Yeah.
A day in my life.
Yeah.
You know what Sam Hinkie is laughing about?
Daryl
Or is it
Morey.
Daryl Morey? Sorry. Daryl Morey.
Daryl Morey.
Remember when Jimmy Harden went out to Japan? He was like, Daryl Morey's a liar and I hate him. I'll never pay for him. The guys have to deal with the Jimmy Hardens of the world.
Yep.
The Kyrie Irvings. The ones that demand to get out every year and reset.
Yep.
Or the Paul Georges and the Kawhi and all this, right? They are laughing.
Yeah.
They go,
deal
for
with it
once,
all the
you
time.
see what it's like. Because
All the
Brandon
time.
Aiyuk, I don't know, maybe he's a huge NBA fan because he's watching how the NBA conducts business and he goes, I want that.
Sign and
I'm going to
trade.
do that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he's coming to New England in 3-2-1. Like, it's done. It's a done deal. I know it's happening. I would bet anything right now that he ends up here. I am just so curious. I'm looking past all that.
Yeah.
I'm looking past the compensation. I'm looking past whatever contract he's going to get. I want to see the return on investment. That's what I'm waiting to see. Are you a leader? Are you a true number one wide receiver in terms of production? Can you handle the pressure of all eyes on you? Because you've been sharing that spotlight with a lot of guys. I want to see those things play out because the sort of dichotomy of what he's doing, the decision making, what's driving him, the motivation. It just seems like I really don't feel like the return on investment is going to be there. I think he feels to me like one of those guys that once he gets his way and he gets that bag, all of a sudden the Brandon Aiyuk we saw in the Bay is not what shows up here, and he's just a guy instead of the guy.
I think he's so talented. I know that, let me pull up this stat that I was jotting down. 12 plus yards per catches last 5 years. That wasn't it for him. Now this is bad podcasting. 12.9 yards per target leads the NFL. That was it.
Yep.
Those are the analytics. So it's necessarily not his usage, but it says he's the most explosive receiver in the NFL. Now that's the offense. That's what opens up for him. And when you have George Kittle down the seams, you have Deebo Samuel.
Coverage.
You have Deebo Samuel on a crosser. Christian McCaffrey coming out of the backfield. Exactly. That's when you get those 12.9 yards per target.
Yeah, buddy.
I just think the best situation, man, if I was him, and that's what, like, it's wild in all this, for Brandon Aiyuk, it's like, what are you doing? I understand the guaranteed money, and I understand that. But you are in the best situation football-wise outside of being in Kansas City.
Yeah.
For a wide receiver, especially in that offense, with that quarterback and that play caller.
Right.
He just doesn't care.
Yep.
And you know what? Whatever. That's his MO. He goes out, he gets paid, he gets generational money, and he's set for the rest of his life.
Yeah, but
and his
then
family's
what?
set the generation after that. Good on him.
But then what? You know what I mean? Then what?
He doesn't
Once
care
you
about
get
the
money,
legacy. He cares
that's
about
what
the
I mean.
bank.
That's what worries me. It's the back end. It's the, okay, we trade for him. He gets paid. Great. Everyone's excited, myself included.
These are the
What's
risks.
the guy going to do?
This is the risk these teams are willing to take.
Facts.
And you know what? This is a risk that New England's going to take because they missed out on Calvin Ridley. They know they have no buzz around the team.
That's right.
Because Jacoby Brissett's going to get rolled out as the starting quarterback. And this is when Gerard Mayo and Elliot Wolf pick up the phone and they go, Robert, we need that credit card. Jonathan, Robin, we need the credit card. We need to pay and pay now.
Yeah.
Burn some cash. This is when it happens.
Yep.
So we'll see what happens with the Patriots. Of course, as of the recording of this podcast, no trade has been finalized with Brandon Aiyuk and the Pats.
Yeah.
Gerard Mayo did speak with the media, and this broke overnight. Then he spoke with the media in the morning. Basically said, one thing I learned from Bill Belichick, I'm not going to comment about guys that aren't on this team. Mm-hmm. But he did follow up and say, like Elliot Wolf, we're always looking to make the best team possible and put it together. He was asked about Kendrick Bourne, and he said, look, I had a conversation with him. The body language, he seemed anxious of like, I have to answer this. And he probably went to Kendrick like, yes, your name is in trade talks. We've been making a push for this receiver. Sounds like you want to be transparent with Kendrick Bourne, but he didn't leave it after that. The updates from practice for Kendrick Bourne, they said he was in street clothes. He was wearing cleats and gloves. So he was probably working out, still coming back from his torn ACL.
Yeah.
But it doesn't look like he's back as a full participant for practice yet. Most importantly, what I want to point out from Gerard Mayo, and that is he said all 4 quarterbacks will play in their preseason opener.
Good.
And he said Drake May will play. And he basically said anyone that's healthy will play. Jacoby Brissett, he'll probably get a drive, maybe 2.
Yeah.
Drake May, I'm interested. What's the offensive line going to be in front of him? You can't let him get killed. You put him out there. He needs to go see live action, full speed, even though it's preseason. I wonder how long the leash is for Drake May when they play in their preseason game this Thursday.
Probably depends. I mean, first of all, let me agree with you. I only want to see Jacoby Brissett for a series max.
He's a starter right now, man.
I mean, like, we've seen Jacoby Brissett. He's okay. Like, we got it. You don't even need preseason, bro. So I say that to say, get him out sooner so that we could see Drake May with the ones for a little bit. I don't think we're going to see it long, but I just need a glimpse, and I need to see the difference. I need to see when he's in there with the ones and the protection. What's the protection like with the ones? What's his chemistry like with the ones? How's the offense move? How's it flow? What's the rhythm? I want to see that. And then I want to see the difference when the 2s come in. Okay? Now let me get a look at him. For a while, I would like to see Drake May play longer than any of these quarterbacks.
Yeah, I want like 3-4 drives out of him.
All preseason. Forget game 1. The whole shebang-a-bang. I need to see him more than anybody. So that's what I want to see. And the only way to really see that, my wish list, is for Brissett to get in and out. You got to get in and out, bro. Just go out there, line us up, couple plays, beat it, kid, and put Drake May in.
He's shown it every day at practice that he's out there. He's the most competent. He's the most confident, and this is his second year in the system, so that's what it should be for him and Austin Hooper. We'll go more in depth with the preseason conversation. We'll have a special edition of Foxboro Rush dropping Thursday morning before the Patriots kick off their preseason that Thursday night. And then you'll get your fresh Foxboro Rush the following Monday with all our takeaways, our post-op from the preseason. I know I said in the beginning we'd talk about NFL bet starters. Jacoby Brissett, -500 to be the starter right now. Drake May, 3-1. Again, we'll talk about that more later date. This is called producing and hosting on the fly. Let's talk about the NESN Mount Rushmore of tight ends. So the ballots have been casted. They came back. And here are the 4. To me, it's honestly no surprise.
Yeah.
Antonio Gates, Tony Gonzalez, Travis Kelce, Rob Gronkowski.
Yeah.
Anyone you'd push off? Anyone you would include?
No problems. I mean, you and I always talk about honorable mentions. The only guy I can think that I watched who's not on this list that was really special was Shannon Sharp.
That's what I was thinking too. I mean, 3 Super Bowls.
He was just unbelievable. Yeah. He was really ahead of his time in a lot of ways.
12 yards of reception before that was the game.
Yeah, and not just that. You're right about that, but also he could block. He was tough. He was a leader. Shannon Sharp had everything. And for most of my life, I felt like he was the greatest tight end I watched. I thought Jimmy Graham was extremely prolific.
Very athletic.
With Drew Brees and all that. But I always felt
did
like –
not block.
he didn't block, A. And B, I almost felt like that was a little bit of a systemic thing with Breeze, with Peyton, with some of the weapons those teams had. Not that Graham wasn't special, but I always sort of felt like there was a little bit of of system there. I felt the same way about Antonio Gates too, to be honest, for a long time. But his numbers were just so ridiculous that at some point you can't deny him. So I'm fine with him being on the list. Kelsey and Gronk are obvious. Tony Gonzalez is really, I think he was rated properly at the time he was playing, but since his playing days have been over, much like Shannon Sharp, I think sometimes being in the media and being a big personality might work against your playing career, because now people just see you as a loudmouth that does what we do, George, and they almost forget how great Tony Gonzalez was. Fantastic. In fact, Shannon Sharp, for most of my life, I felt like was the greatest I watched until Tony Gonzalez came along, and then I said, "Oh my God, that's a guy." And now I feel like it's Gronk.
For me, that was Antonio Gates. It was Tony Gonzalez. It was Antonio Gates, Tony Gonzalez, and Gronk came along. That's the greatest tight end of all time, no doubt about it. Blocking, receiving,
everything.
And he played so physical. He had so many injuries, but the injuries that he played through, his knee, his elbow, his shoulder, his back.
He's the GOAT.
You saw how much those injuries tore him apart when he first retired.
That's right.
Like, football wasn't fun for him. Then he found CBD. He found marijuana. That helped rejuvenate his career, and he's able to come back from Tampa. Kelsey is the greatest receiving tight end of all time. Not all around, but you can't deny his route running ability, his reliability. And yes, he's paired off with the greatest quarterback of all time, talent-wise, one day in Patrick Mahomes.
Yes.
But even when he was with Alex Smith, before Mahomes came along and became what he became, this guy still was one of the best tight ends in the league. The 3 rings, the all-pros, his receiving numbers are insane. The one I go to, I like you mentioned Shannon Sharp. 3 Super Bowls, 10,000 career yards plus, 62 touchdowns. Before it was his time. That's a tight end that you drop him in now.
He could play now.
He would be the best in the league, maybe. And maybe he'd be a wide receiver. He'd be a Kyle Pitts, but actually working out, because I think he's that good, that athletic.
Right.
The one, it would be ugly. I don't think you put him on the Mount Rushmore.
Who?
But tight ends are security blankets. Tight ends are reliable. They're chain movers. They got to block. They got to get open. They got to be secure, right?
Yeah.
Jason Witten for 15 seasons did that.
Yeah.
13,000 career yards receiving. 10-plus yards per reception.
Ridiculous.
The chain mover.
Yeah, he was.
74 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Wasn't the best, wasn't the fastest, wasn't the sexiest.
No. He could block too.
Yes, and he got the job done.
Yep.
But I can't dispute this Mount Rushmore. Maybe I'd put Sharp in over Antonio Gates, but that's still so tough because Gates is a legend.
The numbers, man.
But Sharp has the rings.
I know. But
2 with the Broncos, 1 with the Ravens. You can't deny that.
You can't deny it.
But a tight end situation is beyond of rings.
Yeah,
it's like offensive lineman.
And Antonio Gates was a bad MFer, man. He was just, so good. At some point, it's just like there's a little bit of an eyeball test too. Not to say that Shannon Sharp wasn't fantastic, but when you watch Antonio Gates at his prime and you watch Shannon Sharp at his prime, boy, I think I'd take Antonio Gates, and this is coming from a Shannon Sharp fan. I tell you what, Jason Witten's a great point. Jay Novacek before him too with Dallas was very tough. He played with all the Aikman, played with the Aikman teams.
Okay,
he was fantastic. Dallas always has had good tight ends, but yeah, I think Sharp. I think you and I agree, even over Witten. Sharp's the one guy
I'd put Sharp over
on the outside looking in here that probably deserves Mount Rushmore. I just don't know who you take off. I don't think I'm taking Antonio Gates off. Right
Mount Rushmores are like eye tests too. I mean, end of the day, we're playing football, and who's the best? That's what I'm saying. And I think eye test where it's undeniable is Tony Gonzalez.
Oh yeah,
the one rip I give him.
Who? Gonzalez?
He left Kansas City. Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna go into the Hall of Fame as a Falcon. He really disrespected Casey and the Chiefs, who loved him. He did that. Kind of like a dead man to them from that point on.
Yeah. I guess his most prolific years were with. I don't know why he would choose. Yeah, you're right. He should have went in as a Chief. That's weird.
Got to the Super Bowl with the Falcons. His most prolific years with Matt Ryan, that quarterback. Putting up much bigger numbers. But he was so consistent from like '98. I think he played up until
he was special, man.
20, like maybe 14. I could be extending.
Sounds
it. 2013.
Right.
I was 1 year off.
Yeah, that sounds right.
He came into the league in 97 and played till 2013. That long, that good, at that high of a level?
No doubt.
All right, we'll talk preseason starters and all that next episode of Foxboro Rush. He's Travis Thomas. I'm George Balekji. Thanks so much for tuning in. Stay tuned wherever you get your podcast, Spotify, Apple, Amazon Prime. Please like, subscribe, rate, and review. Watch us on YouTube, NESN's YouTube page, or on Twitch. Hit the subscribe button there as well. As of the ending of this podcast, Brandon Aiyuk's not a Patriot yet.
Yeah.
But if he becomes a Patriot or anything else happens, you know where to catch a full coverage? Right here on Foxboro Rush. We'll see you guys next time.